The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. I'm Dan. Michael's here. Moscow White's here. Our weekly roundup. It's about Leeds United, isn't it?
It is. It's also about legal services.
It is it?
Yeah, well, the sponsors, don't they?
They do. They hand over money, so you will say these words.
LeviSolicitors.co.uk/the square ball, 10% off your legal fees.
Yep.
Across a range of services, including wills, probate, and, of course, conveyancing.
Yeah, the big three as they are known to you.
To me, to everyone now.
Right.
To all listeners.
Yep. And many other services, all of which are helpfully listed at LeviSolicitors.co.uk. Go through the Square Ball landing page as well, because it helps, doesn't it? Quite
It helps
frankly.
you, as in the person who's getting the discount.
Oh, right. I thought you meant me.
No. Well, it does if you go
It would
to
if I needed legal services. That's
Correct.
exactly what I'd do. If I was having a dispute with my neighbours or was involved in some commercial dispute and needed some resolution.
Yeah, do that. Go to them.
That'd be good. So, thank you. LeviSolicitors.co.uk/the square ball. 10% discount on your legal fees. Weekly roundup, as I mentioned then. Here it is. Where should we start? Max Gradel is a champion again.
Not strictly Leeds news, is it? But
Well, it is, isn't
Nice,
it?
though.
Sort of.
Once Leeds, always Leeds.
And we've got the games to round up from the midweek, including Ipswich winning at Millwall,
Boo.
which was Wednesday night, wasn't it? Are we going up? Will injuries play part? We've got some injuries to talk about now as well. We're into weeks, not months territory with Pascal Strike. Which one do you want to lead off on then? Where should we go?
I mean, we're second in the table, aren't we?
Yeah.
Which is definitely a promotion place. I feel like we might go up. But then, I'm aware I'm prone to massive swings in these things. We'll lose one game and I'll be like, it's
It's
fucked.
over.
It's fucked. We'll do well to hang on to the playoffs. And even if we get there, what's the point? Because we'll only lose. But this week, we're going up.
We have got the big advantage, or Southampton have the big disadvantage of playing West Brom on Friday night in their fragile mental state. It must.
Teetering on collapse, Moscow?
Well, it must suck to go. It's 22 unbeaten in the league, 25 all competitions, isn't it? And where has that got them?
Behind Leeds.
Behind Leeds, which is, I think, exactly where they started. I think I've not looked at the points difference, but I think they were a point behind us when it began, when they beat us, brought them to within a point of us at the start of their run, and now they're a point behind us at the top, or is it even 2 points? So,
2, I think, at the minute.
It's
Yeah,
like-
but they will go ahead of us with their game in hand, which I think is that against Rotherham, so you'd expect them to win that. But
yeah, but then if they lose the other games, so if they lose on Friday night to West Brom, what good's that game against Rotherham if we beat Plymouth? So all the pressure's on the Saints.
It'd be like when Huddersfield went on that 50-game unbeaten run or something that started in like 5th in League One and ended 5th in League One. And it was like, well done, Lee Clark. They did lose a playoff in the middle, which didn't count because it wasn't a league game.
right.
So it was a technical record.
Was that when he was crying about systems?
Was that Huddersfield? Was that Birmingham, I
I think
think?
he was Birmingham when it was the systems was the problem. He says, don't believe in systems. Don't talk to me about systems. Which I've tried to find that clip again, but it's been
I have as
scrubbed
well.
from the internet, which is a shame. If anybody at Sky Sports wants to do us a favour, first of all,
Notorious fans of friends of football fans.
well, yeah, it will kind of make up for all the fixture changes. So if you want to repair some of the damage done to the environment by the Bristol and Plymouth games,
And Swansea.
you'd help the atmosphere and probably the levels of carbon being released into the world if you just put Andy Hinchcliffe in a cupboard for a few weeks.
Yep.
Just quietly. A big cupboard where he'll be comfortable, it's fine. And also dig out that clip of...
Is that the cows farting principle, that they pump a load of carbon out into the atmosphere, so if you stop cows farting...
yeah, we can't rely on Joffrey Gelhardt to save the environment one by one. He's taken over from Greta as old Joffrey Thunberg. Anywho, we're going off topic.
Not like us.
Bring the Lee Clark clip where he's talking about systems back into circulation, please.
What
Thank
did you think about his last job? How do you think he did?
Lee Clark? What was his last job?
It was Al Merrick. That's a club. Al Merrick, not a man, but it could be.
Where is Al Merrick?
Well, I know. It's in Sudan.
Yeah.
And how did he do?
He got sacked. So, sacked after 51 days.
That's not long at all. Did he have time to sign anybody?
Is he backpacking?
Oh, it was his second. It was his second stint actually.
Okay.
God, what a weird career.
I was going to say it sounds like he's going on a backpacking tour because he's done like India, hasn't he?
Well, he's done Huddersfield, Birmingham, and Blackpool to kick it off, so that's a bit uninspiring. Then Kilmarnock and Bury.
You need to work your way up, though, don't you?
Blythe Spartans.
Yeah, wasn't his playing career just Newcastle and Sunderland and Newcastle and Sunderland?
Oh, he did a bit of Fulham as well, didn't he?
Oh, I suppose they're quite exotic.
But yeah, I think probably that unbeaten run that resulted in nothing might have been the highlight of his managerial career. So well done to him. But yeah, we're going up because Southampton are going to lose at West Brom, aren't they? Feels like ages ago since we lost at West Brom, doesn't it? Whole other team.
Farker out.
Well, there was
Farker out era.
the Farker out era. It really was, wasn't it? We lost
2 games.
2 games, and we drew against Coventry as well. That was very disappointing.
And one of those games, remember, we were in underload.
What does that mean?
Because it's what Farker always says about the sending off at Preston.
Oh, okay.
It's like we had to play this game in underload.
I like that. That's a really good.
He kept going on it.
Do you think that's like maybe a word that exists in German that's not quite translated because we don't really say underload, do we?
Unterloaden. Maybe, but yeah, and it makes sense. Underload. But I think it's isn't it a ice hockey thing as well? Isn't it?
Power play.
A power play, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we were whatever the opposite of a power. I guess Preston had the power play, all the P's.
At least he translated it. Jesse would have kept with the German word to make himself seem fancy.
Yeah, they call this Mittwoch. It means midweek.
There's only 14 games left of the season. That's not many, is it, boys and girls?
No.
They need to book the open top bus. That's what needs to be done.
People are going to hate this and say we're getting ahead of ourselves, but because there's been a little bit
But
of
people will love the bus. So
that's true.
Anybody who hates it now can't come to the parade.
Right. There's been a little bit of, because that Southampton Saints stats, whatever it was, said Leeds are out of the running. There's been a little bit of biting back at that. They tweeted something along the lines of, now Leeds are out of contention or whatever, and now we're obviously above Southampton. I don't know if that was to hoover up, because they've got a blue tick, and obviously you can get revenue from being blue tick. I don't know if they were trying to do that, get engagement, or whether it was just a ridiculous post of arrogance. The sort of thing that Leeds fans would never do.
No.
But there's been a little bit of biting back at that, saying, back in contention now, aren't we, dickheads? That kind of thing.
But as Ipswich, we've completely written off.
Yeah, I mean, they are finished, though. We do know that.
Yeah, we're basically doing exactly what Southampton did, which I quite admired, the passive aggressiveness of that particular early write-off, because I don't think they were actually saying Leeds are out of this. They were just doing graphs of the title challenges without us, which is very subtle.
I'm not sure about that, because I have screen grabbed it.
If there was more, I mean, I don't care to that extent.
I mean, I do.
The one tweet I've seen
I'm a baby.
Was just like a list of the fixtures left for the 3 title contenders, and we weren't there. And I thought, well, that's mildly amusing. But if there's more to it, then yeah, maybe. I'm not interested to that extent.
I mean, when West Brom beat them on Friday, they're only going to be 9 points behind Southampton, breathing right down their necks. And that pressure is going to get to them.
Yeah, Carlos Corberan, Agent Carlos, doing us a solid.
We need Alex Mowat.
MC, what's his name? Freestyle?
He was MC Freestyle, yeah. We need him to bang one in the top corner again. If not, a Kyle Bartley header.
I bet there are loads of MC Freestyles, aren't there?
I mean, he was 13. He was trying to come up with the most original.
Pathetic.
What was your 13-year-old rap name?
I wasn't into rap.
Right, what were you not spitting rhymes? What were you doing?
Classical.
Right.
Piano.
Were you?
I can't play the piano at all.
What can you play? Sit down with the guitar, maybe, and
nothing. It was some
triangle?
basic percussion. Yeah,
you do triangle.
Yeah.
What's your favourite? What's your favourite note on the triangle? The ting.
I was going to say it's the classic. I had to leave. It was just one ting after another.
Right.
That joke, which is always good.
Yeah.
No, I can't play anything.
Right. Moscow, you play an instrument?
No.
You? I know you've.
I taught myself to play guitar to a very basic level.
You can't play guitar.
I could do you a couple of chords. I could probably play Wonderwall at a push, but then everyone can play Wonderwall because like Oasis songs are basically like nursery rhymes, aren't they? But and I say that as an Oasis fan growing up. Yeah, we're going up then. I feel like we've got distracted again from that. Swansea against Ipswich. We beat Swansea. They're rubbish.
Yes, we never concede any goals anymore. That's the one thing I've noticed.
Is that because we've got Ampadu at the back with his mate Rodon?
It's going pretty well.
Seems to be the opposite of what's happening to Southampton, because although they ended up beating Huddersfield, conceding 3 there and then conceding 3 to Bristol, 6 in 2 games.
They were very porous at the start of the season, weren't they? They got did Sunderland do a 5-0 or something in the opening weeks? I've got a vague memory of.
They've been very they beat Swansea 5-0 as well during this run. Because I at one point, I think I mentioned it when I saw them conceding 3 to Huddersfield. See if they've been doing the Ipswich thing of just outscoring the opposition, and actually no, they've been winning against 5-0 and 4-0, which makes the inversion of their recent form pretty strange. But yeah, if you're going to, that's the fear that they'll go in with against West Brom, is not only lost a game, but should have lost to Huddersfield as well. And you should have lost to Huddersfield is almost as bad as losing to them.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be nearly losing to Huddersfield or even entertaining the idea.
5-0 they lost to Sunderland on the 2nd of September. Then the game after that was the 15th, where they lost 4-1 to Leicester. So yeah, it can be done. Obviously, the club to dig them out of their poor form and start off a massive run was Leeds United. Just talking about the changes to defence and Ampadu and all that, Pascal Struijk has now strayed into weeks, not months territory.
On the plus side, the defence has never looked better.
Right.
So you can kind of accept it for a while, can't you? Until we get an injury. But yeah, it's not good, is it? The way he keeps... It was a couple of weeks, wasn't it, to begin with? And then it just keeps going on and on and on. And Farkas had the next international break, which is middle of March. So a lot of games between now and then.
I suppose the only good side, and touching all the wood, I can find is that that's our only real long-term injury this season. We've had players dipping out, but you'd think this would have been Sam Byram, but Byram is always just like, I need to maybe take a game off, or this is tightened up and I need to go off. But we've not had the season-ending injury to Crescencio Somerville that in recent seasons you would have expected. Rodrigo has not happened again, where you're like, right, your best player is going to be disappearing.
Because we've got loads of best players and they're all fit at the minute, so that's good.
Yeah, so there's two real, when you're looking at the improvements from where we were, then having lots of good players and having them all in good condition to play.
Is that a recipe for success in your eyes?
Not just in my eyes, in the league table is backing up.
Yeah. Yeah. The squad overall is, it's now starting to properly show its quality and its depth, I think, isn't it? Like the likes of Jayden Anthony's probably kicking his heels to a certain extent because he's not been able to break through. He thinks he featured in all the early games for Bournemouth this season, didn't he? And then he was replaced by a rat who they've now signed permanently. So he must feel a little bit, uprooted at the minute, not quite cemented a place in the Leeds side. But he's been a fairly crucial cog in the machine, hasn't he? But and I say that with like Nonto in mind, who has stepped in when Dan James has been off injured. But it's really starting to show now, isn't it? The quality within the squad, and it's nice that these players like Groovy Gruev has emerged in midfield, which means that we've been able to move Ampadu back. It's all good, isn't it? It's good things.
Who would have thought Junior Firpo would be crucial to a massive streak of defensive mastery, should we say? Because conceding 1 in 7 is ridiculous. We need Johnny Cooper on this, but that can't have happened very often.
What, 7 games on the trot for?
Well, conceding 1 in 7. I mean, that's George Graham era, surely, is that sort of thing. And we achieved that by playing 9 defenders, which is kind of less of a mystery than actually doing it while scoring a load of goals.
It does help being vastly superior to most of your opponents, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, that does help.
But for whatever reason, it does feel like, and we're saying this on the show that we've recorded with Phil that's going to be out on Friday, that just feels like there's just been a little shift in the mindset around Leeds. It feels like there's momentum building. And again, caveat that by saying that, you can lose the next game and that all goes out the window a la Southampton. But there's that sense of it, even if it is a complete mirage.
Yeah, Farker was saying last week about how, and he's been saying it all season, that it's difficult after being relegated to change the atmosphere into one that's about winning instead of losing. It's all habit forming, and that's how come Southampton can go on a 25-game unbeaten streak, because you just get used to the idea that you're going to go and play and not lose. Whereas even though we changed a lot of the players, I can remember it because the games at the start of the season at Elland Road where we hadn't won for months, and we drew against Sheffield Wednesday, and you just felt that there was that kind of feeling of, oh, we're never going to win at home, even though, all the bastards who turned up last season and relegated us have gone. It's still, the hangover stays, I think, Farker has implied that it stays as much within the playing side as it does on the supporter side. And it takes time to overcome that when you do finally win a game at home, oh, well, yeah, but will we win next week? And then you do. And then, oh, well, yeah, but the away games are going to be dead difficult because everyone's just going to pack the defence, and then they do, but we win anyway. But then we have to get through the games at Stoke where it's, oh, everything goes wrong. It's, oh, that's what it's going to be like. So it takes a lot of time to build. Everyone says you get relegated with the squad from the Premier League and all the parachute payments, and you should just flip a switch and get promoted immediately just for the quality of the players. But you saw it with Southampton. Leicester started much more easily, but us and Southampton are a bit more normal in that shaking off the hangover has taken a lot of time. And now, get past Christmas, where we always suck. And it does feel like, I don't know if Farker has specifically pointed out, or maybe getting to the end of playing the first round of fixtures, where we've played every team once, helped, where he could just go, they're all rubbish, lads, just beat them. Because that's what it felt like against Swansea, and now that we've started scoring the early goals as well, that's been the next thing. It's kind of like, we're winning every game. Can you now win the games in the first half and make it all a lot easier? And then you look at Swansea, and it must have been, you looked at the way they came out, and they're all standing on halfway. Farker, I don't know if he had to try to be subtle about it. He was just giving. No pointing. Just his eyes. It's like, lads, look,
over.
Have you seen? Yeah,
They'll notice eventually. Just keep doing it until they do.
Just talking about like the poison that was here last year, and they've all gone, haven't they? And I wonder if we may now be seeing the benefits of having lost all that failure from the dressing room and having. I know it wasn't nice, and we were kind of forced into possibly more churn than they would have liked, but to have got rid of all those players,
we had to. It was a proper demolition job last season. It only becomes clear in retrospect. Players like Meslier and Cooper and Ayling and Bamford all copped a lot of grief for their part in it, and that you do deserve a certain amount of blame for being part of a relegated team. You do look at, Marsh turned up, and then the players we've signed: Aronson, Christensen, Adams, Sinistera.
And you can see from those last two that how keen they were and how attached to the club they felt because they couldn't wait to get out.
Verba as well. Russo is kind of, should have just been in the under 21s when he turned up with Nyonto, but we just put them straight in the team. So there's a bunch of players all arrived and then relegated us and then went away.
Christensen, Rocker, all those players,
Rocker, another one.
Yeah.
You kind of look, it's almost bewildering. It's like a whirlwind that came through. This season has been kind of about picking up the pieces and repairing that damage and
fixing the ones who are still here and the old guard as well. The likes of, it's fun like seeing the re-emergence of Bamford as a senior player and having prominence within that squad. Admittedly, it's it's at a level lower down. We don't want to be at this level. We prefer to still be in the Premier League. But a chance maybe to reset the culture a little bit and the voices in the dressing room. You see someone like Joe Rodon and how he leads from the back completely. Like there's almost a second captain there in waiting, isn't there?
Well, there'll be a big change for a player like Liam Cooper, who we know at the end of last season yelled at the dressing room that anyone who doesn't want to be here can fuck off. And then this season his role is very different because he's not playing as much. But I get the feeling he probably prefers being in a dressing room with Joe Rodon than being in a dressing room with half the people who were here last season. Whether he's playing or not, it's just better. And it seemed to be there was a lot of the indications were that those. It's a little bit like one of the things that people say went wrong with the O'Leary era was it wasn't just the financial impact of it being several signings too many, but the last few through the door. I think people generally kind of point at Robbie Fowler as being the most significant one. Great player, but just changed the atmosphere in terms of because he'd not been part of the culture, and he had expectations of how things had been at Liverpool and his status as a England international. Just kind of the last few players kind of changed the way things had been. Now, the way things had been in the era was not necessarily all that great when you think about some of the stuff they got up to.
But an ecosystem exists, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think it tells its own story that the ones who we just got rid of at the end of last season were largely the ones who'd arrived at the start of that season, and they didn't help us whatsoever. And I hope they've enjoyed being injured at Bournemouth.
We basically it's been demarched and de-altered to an extent, hasn't it? The entire club,
totally.
In terms of the playing style and even some of the backfill with people like Kelder and Paveda and those kind of players all leaving as well. I know you can look at the first team and say, well, Arthur did sign Somerville, Rutter, but they weren't first team players under his reign, if you like, whether they were kind of just on the bench and on the fringes, whereas now it feels like what we've built around is, well, a new midfield, a new defence, and it's looking a hell of a lot better than
and also it's the, like I say, the type of player is like the opposite
Welsh.
of what it would have gone for. Yeah, like
Welsh,
it would have never gone for an unglamorous Welsh signing because it's too obvious, isn't it? It's too close to home. It's not glamorous enough. It's not enough of a moonshot. It's not
Dan
trying
James,
to
but he
prove a
was
point.
glamorous.
Yeah, but he went for Dan James because Bielsa wanted him.
He was a lovely, glamorous little fellow. But to bring it to the joy of the now, what Farker is bringing is kind of becoming clearer over the season is the knowledge of having done all this before. And it feels like we are copying the Norwich seasons to a certain extent, where they didn't start very fast. Then they got to around the turn of the new year and they were in contention, and then they went on an utterly ridiculous run. So I think we don't lose another game, probably win every game now for the rest of the season.
Shut up.
But to have that, confidence,
we know your form on this.
To have that confidence is great because the strategy that we were following with managerial appointments previously, apart from Bielsa, and that's whether it's Christensen, Heckenbottom, or Marsh, was always, well, they can learn on the job and we'll see if they can work out what to do. Whereas Farker, we know he knows what to do. And so fine, just let him do it. And it seems like he's doing the things that are happening at the times he's sort of predicting that they will happen. So
there's comfort in that, isn't there? Yeah.
And his even down to his attitude about not looking at the table. He's like, don't look at the table at the end of the season. We just need to win so many games and get to 2 points a game, and that'll be fine. And now when you see middle of February and we just sneak into the top two, that's why he's saying don't look at the table, because he's confident that we'll get into the right place in the table at the right time. And then come to April and we'll start looking at the table and weeping and throwing up and crying and screaming.
Yes.
Because we'll be so near to success. And
it'll be terrifying.
A lucrative day for a bus driver somewhere.
Well, I was going to say, I mentioned on the show this week, we recorded with Phil just ahead of doing this show, but it's out afterwards, that I'm kind of embracing the run this year. I'm enjoying it. It doesn't feel as loaded with pressure and the weight of history as so much as like the Bielsa 2 attempts at promotion did. But you can check all that out on that show. Just
being a yo-yo club's going to be good, isn't it?
Oh, I can't wait.
It's almost like...
As long as we only yo-yo once, that's now.
I don't know. There's certain advantages to it. What if we do get relegated next season? If we do follow the Farker Norwich playbook, then we are down next year and then up again. And then we sack him and we get Dean Smith. So there's a lot to look forward to. But there is...
As I said, Dean Smith does come with 3 haircuts. So
yeah, the
3 for the 1.
The 3 seasons in the Premier League that we had, one was great. And then the next 2, So we may as well just got relegated and won this.
That's true. Just to circle back to where we started on Max Gradel, and we were talking about the bastards who left us following relegation this time. It's interesting how high regard Gradel is held in because of the context of the time versus we can't wait to show the door to most of these players who saw us relegated. And the fact that we can still be pleased for is his second AFCON win, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at 36, that he's still held in that regard because of the style that he played in, even with the madness at the end of the Bristol game. That we like him. He's one of those that we like. There are plenty of those that we don't like that left us.
What reasons were there not to like Max Gradel?
Well, exactly.
So what?
I suppose the fact that he left, because he thought he should play at a better level. But the thing is, he was right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rasmus Christensen, he's proven again he can't play at this level. He can't play at Premier League level. He can't play in Italy. He probably couldn't play at the Championship.
I was going to say, so all the lads who've done the interviews saying it was the best move for my career.
Yeah.
Yeah. The era that Max Gradel was here, was probably one of the most upsetting things about it. And one of the worst things that Bates did to us was that it changed our expectations to be so low that players like Gradel, Howson, Johnson, Kilkenny, Snodgrass, Becchio, all of them, when they left to go to
Mainly Norwich, but on the Premier League club, if not on the way to the Premier League. And then the next generation as well, Lewis Cook, Charlie Taylor, Sam Byram. Think, yeah, go, get out of here, because we're fucking rubbish. And you guys are way better than Leeds are ever going to be, while Ken Bates and the people he sells the club onto will be running it. And it was, it was, so there was never any, I mean, the thing with Max Gradel, I don't think he started that season playing, didn't he? And then there was just a good bid for him that, well, Bates ended up saying that because all the money got lost on the exchange rate and agent fees and stuff, and there was a bit like his agent wanted him to go and stuff. But he was... Right,
it was at the end of the window. It was the 30th of August, 2011.
But his subsequent career, playing in League One and then going to Bournemouth, was it Bournemouth in the Premier League with him, or was he in...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it says here, Wikipedia, which we know to be correct for everything, says he joined Premier League newcomers Bournemouth on a 4-year deal for a reported fee of £7 million.
And he was captain of St Etienne, and he's not far off being Ivory Coast's most capped player. He's now got his second AFCON, and so none of those things happened if he spent the next 6 years after he left, if he just stayed at Leeds, and then Neil Warnock comes in and fucking puts him on long throws or something. So, but there was that real feeling at times. Say with, nobody has any problems with Howson because he was going to, he was a good enough player to go and play in the Premier League, and he proved it. And he didn't. Some of those players, I suppose Howson went in the winter of that same season that Gradel left, but almost against his will. They weren't forcing the way out. They were just, some of them, Snodgrass felt like he stayed too long and gave it every chance under Warnock, where it's like, prove to me that we're going to get promoted. Give me a reason to stay at this club so I can fulfill my ambitions here. All of those players would have loved to fulfill every football ambition they ever had.
Instead, he took him for a barbecue in Cornwall and played against some farmers.
Yeah, and just went, if you leave, I'll get Lou Vernier in. There was just nothing there for a footballer to stay playing at Leeds with Michael Brown all the time. So, a very different scenario, and really good to see him. He played well in the tournament. The Côte d'Ivoire changed their fortunes hosting it, making an absolute mess of the group stage, and then got a new manager bounce, sack the coach, and then also...
Goes to show what you can do if you do that in a timely fashion, doesn't it?
And then also the coach had not been playing Gradel in the group stages, so as soon as Gradel started winning games, they turned into champions.
Redemption.
It was quite funny in the final because he... I was quite confused by the captaincy situation with Ivory Coast, because he wasn't the captain that started the game, and then the captain got subbed off and put the armband on Max, and then he had to take it straight off again because it turned out to be a double sub and he was coming off as well.
Oh. So he was captain momentarily.
He was captain for about 30 seconds, and then, but he had been wearing the armband in earlier games. And then at the end of the match, I waited and I waited and I waited while I think they brought the bronze medal people out for their trophy, and then all the officials, the referees and stuff, and then like all the government people who wanted to be involved. And it took absolutely fucking ages because I wanted to see who would be lifting the trophy. And in the end, finally, Gianni Infantino and a few others went. Then it's so fucking ridiculous. Like 3 people, all with their hands on bits of the trophy, taking it over to give it to Gradel. And then finally, he lifted it up and he looked well happy, so it was worth it. It was worth the wait.
Just a sad postscript to Gradel's career. The last bit of the paragraph on the intro on his Wikipedia page. In June 2018, he joined French club Toulouse. You'd think he'd go to win, wouldn't you?
But anyway, it's pronounced.
Oh.
The Square Ball Podcast.